Get ready to reimagine the future of humanity and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, hosted by Dr. David Gruder, an internationally renowned integrative psychologist, human potential expert, author, and social change catalyst, as he delves into the most urgent issues of our time. With the world facing unprecedented challenges and social and political divides growing deeper, it's time to take action. Each episode of this groundbreaking series will empower you with invaluable insights, strategies, and tools to heal these divisions and restore personal freedom and societal well-being. Whether you're a concerned citizen, a courageous leader, an influential figure, or an ambitious entrepreneur, Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will guide you on a transformative journey. Discover your unique role in creating a brighter future for yourself and society at large. Dr. David Gruder will draw upon his extensive knowledge and experience to provide practical solutions for shaping the world we live in. With his passionate exploration of social change, he will help you navigate through the complexities of our time and inspire you to make a meaningful impact. So, prepare yourself for an eye-opening experience as we delve deep into the heart of the matter. Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will challenge your perspectives, ignite your imagination, and equip you with the tools you need to reimagine and redefine the world around you. The time to transform our future is now. Join us on this incredible journey and enter a new era of possibility. For more information on Dr. David Gruder and the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, visit www.rhfy.ca. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, where together, we create a brighter tomorrow. Now, here is the host of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, Dr. David Gruder.
Well, welcome back to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours. I'm your host, Dr. David Gruder, and in this episode, my fascinating guest, Peggy O'Neal, joins me to unpack what "you already are what you seek" means. Peggy O'Neal worked in President Bill Clinton's administration. She holds a Juris Doctor, meaning she's an attorney, from the University of Arkansas and is a certified integral master coach. Peggy has coached leaders and entrepreneurs throughout the world for more than 35 years after having practiced law for 12 years. Her mission is to help free changemakers from the illusion of separation that is the root cause of personal, organizational, and world problems, not only so we can live authentically and effortlessly, but so we can far more fully turn our highest aspirations into reality. The foundation of Peggy's work is what she calls Wisdomary Leading, an enlightened approach to extraordinary leadership that combines the great wisdom teachings with evidence-based science. She also spearheads Unite for Democracy, a grassroots method for dissolving divisiveness and polarization. What blocks us from the durable love, happiness, wealth, peace, and meaning we long for? Well, it's the same fundamental misunderstanding that blocks leaders from leading in enlightened ways. In this episode, Peggy and I will explore what this misunderstanding is, the problems it causes, and most importantly, what it will take for us to finally get what we most long for, both individually and collectively. So, Peggy, welcome to the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad you're here. Let's let the cat out of the bag right from the start. What is the single most central thing that blocks us from living our best life, having the impact we want to have, and from leading in ways that help rather than harm?
Well, the misunderstanding is that we believe that we're separate from the universe, from each other, from ourselves, from the planet and everything in and on the planet. And so that leads us to dissatisfaction with ourselves, conflicts in the workplace and in families, and of course, wars and destruction of the planet.
Hmm. Absolutely. And so what I really want to start with is, what are some of the common symptoms that you've seen in people that are giveaways that they are ensnared in the illusion of separation?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll answer that, but I realize maybe that it's going to be a good thing to mention. So, what's the insight? Well, if we believe we're separate, then the insight is that we're one being.
Right.
So it's all one. But some of the ways that we can tell that we still believe that we're separate, or we believe that we're separate, is we all have judgments that come to us about ourselves and other people, but do we believe them? Do we believe that we did something wrong? Do we feel guilty about something we did or didn't do? Do other people not meet up to our expectations, and we judge them for it? Or do we not meet up to our own expectations and judge ourselves for it? Do we do something to harm other people and then think, well, that's not going to affect me, even though I'm harming them in some way? I think I said, do we worry about things? Another thing is that if we feel limited and finite, which of course most people do, most people feel that they're not that creative, that they're not that expansive, that they identify with this body that seems limited and finite, and so they don't really realize, oh, if I'm one, I'm also infinite intelligence, infinite wisdom, and so we tend to only listen to the thoughts that come to us, or our rational mind, which is very limited and contracting, and so that's how we feel in life.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are
I,
your thoughts? Yeah.
thank you for asking. Well, I love your list. I think it's really spot on. There's one thing in particular of all of the things that you said that I'd like to deeper dive into with you right now, which is what you were saying about being judgmental.
Mhm.
And from my perspective, at least, we have an inner critic. Virtually all of us have a part of us that is basically an internal rules keeper. And when we don't follow whatever the rules our inner critic thinks we're supposed to follow,
Mm,
or that others are supposed to follow, our inner critic will shame us
mm,
and blame others.
mm, mm.
And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on how an inner critic becomes a substitute for people's connection with oneness, with higher love and wisdom. Isn't it a substitute?
For the connection to oneness.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I could see that helps us feel somehow validated or seen, even though it can be negative or criticizing, but it can feel like, oh, something's I'm paying attention to myself, or I'm connected to myself. Um, and yet, because it causes us so much discomfort, that's actually a clue that it's enforcing or reinforcing a sense of separation. Um,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we feel so bad, and so that's telling us something, because our essential nature is actually peace and love and beauty and joy and fulfillment. And so if we're not feeling that, that's a big clue that we're feeling. Now I'm talking about, I mean, we do have pain in life, but I'm talking about the suffering that goes with it, so we can experience a sense of happiness in the background, or love or peace in the background, and still have a crisis in front of us or something to handle, but we feel, but because once we recognize who we truly are and experience it, then that can be in the background and actually informing how we are in crises and other uncomfortable situations. But if we stay uncomfortable, dissatisfied, lonely, then yeah, that inner critic is definitely holding the place of feeling safe, because I know what my inner critic's going to do. So I can feel safe, I can feel secure, even though it's so uncomfortable, because it's reinforcing who I think I am, this separate being.
So it may be hell, but it's home.
Right. Exactly. Because that's what we're always looking for. We want to find home, and we're so conditioned to think that this hell is home that we go, oh, now I'm there. It's so uncomfortable. And so it gets uncomfortable when we really start exploring who we truly are. Because, yeah, now it feels like, wait, this life's getting a little bit jiggly here as I look into this.
Right. So this belief in separation really functions like a spell in fairy tales.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you talk about spells. Yes, definitely. It's definitely a spell
Hmm.
because
And of course, go ahead.
because I think we're going to get to this, but so I won't spoil but there are ways to investigate this, and
Yes, we
yeah,
will get to that
we
for
will get
sure.
there.
Yeah. And so, the thing that I want to add about spells for our viewers and listeners is that the key to being under a spell is not knowing that we're under one.
Yeah.
Right. So when our inner critic is the boss of us and we don't know that, and we don't know that our inner critic is a replacement for, or a substitute for, or a stand in for our connection with source or higher love and wisdom, or whatever we want to call that oneness. And of course, there are multiple terms for that around the
Yeah,
world.
consciousness, awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Higher self. I mean,
Yeah.
God,
God,
Allah.
God's
uh,
infinite being. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, this really is a big problem. And in the remaining time in this segment, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you observed while you were serving in the Clinton White House about thought processes that were separation based or that transcended separation. And I'm not asking you to disclose,
Mm,
private behind the scenes things, but the kinds of symptoms you observed
mm,
either in the Clinton White House or in people who visited the Clinton White House,
mm,
symptoms that you saw of them being in a separated state or in a unity state.
mm, mm. Well, a lot of with Bill Clinton in general, from a unity state, I think that's really what drove him all those years with politics and being involved. He really had and has continued to have a vision for the world and for people being able to work together, live together, play together, and how to have a world that works for everyone. So I think that's a vision of his that's just informed his whole life. Some of the work that I did was with regard to the Federal Labor Relations Authority. So how to get labor and management to get along. And so by definition of the way they're set up, they're set up to not get along, to not feel like they're on the same page. One's defending one side, and another's defending the other side. So that's a divider that occurs, even though the training was to help bring them together, and it did. But back to divisions, there's sometimes some of the government agencies wanted that kind of training so that the workforce could work better together, and other agencies just did it to check the box because it was a requirement of the administration to get this training. So that's definitely not trying to be unified, but staying in control. um, let's see, what else would I say I saw in the White House or government? Well, a lot of course, territorial protection, just
Mhm.
people wanting to defend their ideas, get what they can, keep their power and control. But another thing that really hit me, let's see if I can, or that really impacted me, especially doing this.
Just briefly before we go to
Okay,
break.
this training
Yeah.
anyway, is how many government employees really went to be patriotic, and then that they were all of a sudden they're involved in the bureaucracy, and they're not listened to and cared for anymore. So that's a big. I mean, they just didn't feel that, so they just get into their routine and don't care anymore because of how
Right.
they're treated due to the bureaucracy.
Exactly. And so there are things about bureaucracies that reinforce separation.
Exactly.
And the thing that I think is important for people to appreciate is that there are at least certain individuals in government who are devoted to
Oh,
trying to reduce separation.
yes.
There are some people in government that have a level of awareness that doesn't make it into the media, into the press.
Right.
And so with that, we'll be back after a short break, after which my guest, Peggy O'Neal, and I will discuss what causes us to believe the illusion of separation is real.
Are you ready for a tale that will leave you on the edge of your seat? Get ready to dive into the gripping memoir by Bart Sibrel titled Moon Man. Bart Sibrel takes you on a heart-pounding journey, unmasking the truth behind America's famous Apollo missions. Prepare yourself for hair-raising encounters with agents from the U.S. government's top secret agencies. In Moon Man, Sibrel fearlessly reveals his real-life espionage adventures, shining a light on one of the CIA's best-kept secrets. Brace yourself for shocking revelations, including Sibrel's discovery of privately recorded audio exposing an Apollo astronaut's chilling plot, a plot orchestrated by the CIA. That's right. As Sibrel unveils this groundbreaking evidence, it becomes clear that there is much more to the Apollo missions than meets the eye. Could it be that we've been deceived all along? Moon Man is a gripping page-turner that challenges everything you thought you knew. It's a mind-bending journey into the unknown, where the line between truth and fiction becomes blurred. Don't miss this opportunity to uncover the secrets hidden for decades. Let your curiosity guide you as you join Bart Sibrel on his quest to find the truth. Moon Man, available now at Sibrel.com. That's Sibrel.com. Prepare to have your beliefs shaken to the very core.
Well, before the break, we unpacked some of the big symptoms that we tend to have that alert us that we're ensnared in the illusion of separation. Well, at least once we're awake enough from the spell to recognize those symptoms. And in this segment, my guest, Peggy O'Neal, and I will explore what causes us to unintentionally adopt the illusion of separation in the first place. So let's kick this off with me asking you a question, Peggy.
Okay.
What does cause us to adopt this profoundly limiting belief in separation?
Well, when we're first born, we actually don't have any distinctions. We don't have any language. We're just in the world. And then sometime during the first 15 months, something clicks for us because of the way people interact with us. And of course, this is all cultural. It's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years. So nobody's doing anything wrong. I want to clarify that it's just in our culture. But what happens is when we're newborns, our parents start calling us, oh, this is Peggy and I'm mom and this is dad and that's a wall and that's a tree and that's a bird and that's a cat and that's a chair. And so somewhere in the first 15 months, after hearing all these labels over and over again, something clicks for us. Oh, I must be an object too. Oh, I'm Peggy. And so then from then on, we also start adding on more labels. Oh, and I'm a girl and I'm a good student and I look a certain way. And then eventually I'm a coach and I'm a good coach or I'm not a good coach. I'm wealthy. I'm not wealthy. So we add all these labels on and we identify with what we add on to I am, so and that just over the years and years, then it builds up. So we're more and more identified as this separate self, this set of labels without realizing that's what we're doing. And then of course the culture perpetuates that because everybody believes that we're separate. And as we go along too, we're told things like, okay, you've got a high school degree now make something of yourself, go to college, do something. And so it's the orientation, especially in our culture, is one of an individual trying to make their life work. It's up to you to do something with your life. It's up to you. There are indigenous cultures where as soon as a person's born, they see them as whole and complete, and it's the community's responsibility to help them thrive and to express what they're here to express. In our culture, it's the other way around, which is you've got to prove yourself. You've got to get somewhere in life and, make a certain amount of money, be famous, do something, accomplish something before you're somebody. So those are several ways. Oh, and then another way that it becomes where we believe and instill this idea of separation is because of all these words and concepts. Like once we've latched on to, let's say, a tree, oh, that's a tree, then we're really relating to the concept. We're not even really experiencing the tree anymore and what's really there, like seeing the nuances of the bark or feeling the shade or whatever. Oh, that's a tree. And now all trees are just trees, unless you happen to be an expert in trees, whatever that is. So those are the things that come to mind for me, David.
Mhm. Well, that's great. And let's unpack each of those
Okay.
one at a time. So let's start back with what you said happens starting in the first 15 months of life.
Mm.
And what I'll share with you is that my memories go all the way back to 9 months old.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Not
And
me. My sister has to remind me stuff about my life.
and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I remember very, very distinctly looking out on the world in a way where what I saw, there was no distinction.
Wow.
There were no categories. There was nothing like this is the foreground and this is the background. This is a lamp and this is a rug. It was all a united tapestry.
Oh, lovely.
And the whole process of discovering that I seem to be a self in all of that, and that there seemed to be these discrete objects,
Mm.
was both intriguing and frightening to me,
Oh, yeah.
because I realized somehow I needed to learn how to identify discrete individual objects and individuals, and that there was this separation like you're talking about. So this programming is, and you're right to have pointed out that there's no blame here.
Wow.
This is the training that we humans receive starting from the very beginning of our lives,
Mm.
that in some ways we need to have in order to navigate the physical universe. And the only mistake that we make is because the grown-ups around us themselves don't know that learning how to distinguish discrete objects and one individual from another is a functional thing for navigating the physical universe, not the ultimate reality.
Mm.
Because,
Beautiful said. That's great.
thank you. And so because our caregivers, the adults in our lives, our parents, our teachers, our clergy, because they didn't learn that, of course, they don't know how to pass that wisdom down to us. And so I really want to underscore this notion of there's no one to blame here.
Mhm.
It's not anyone's fault. And at the same time, it's still something to be fixed. It needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and 2,000 years ago, hardly anybody had this information, or 3,000 years ago. But now it's all over the place. So that's time. I mean, there's something also just going on that so many people are starting to become aware of what we're talking about today. So it's
Yes.
definitely available, all kinds of
Yes.
support to know this. And so, but it's time.
This is one of the least spoken about evolutions or innovations or breakthroughs
Mm.
of the 20th century, which was that after a long, long history of esoteric wisdom, of higher wisdom being kept by specific mystics and people in cloistered communities and hermits and all of these kinds of settings that were separated from the secular world. In the 20th century, all of this deeper wisdom started to become available to anyone who wanted it. And that's a massive breakthrough that I think is under-recognized, and the impacts of which have been profound.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and science. Science finally about 100 years ago started seeing the same things that we're talking about, that the wisdom teachers have been trying to tell us for years. But scientists started catching up with this. There's actually now there are scientists that are totally in alignment with what we're saying. The leading edge scientists are. There's no separation that can't be found.
yes, and this was another 20th century
Right.
innovation in the field of physics, moving from Newtonian physics to
Mhm.
Einsteinian physics to post-Einsteinian physics.
Mhm.
And so quantum theory basically says there is no separation other than our observations
Fine.
making separation seem real.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yes, that's totally spot on. And of course, most of the rest of science is catching up,
Yeah.
still catching up with that understanding in physics, including the fields of medicine, the fields of psychology. There's still many people in those fields who are who continue to operate from a Newtonian version of the world rather than a post-Einsteinian
Mhm.
understanding of the
Mhm.
world.
Mhm.
And
Well, I think
so,
the education system, is still teaching
yes.
this old information, and so that's
Really
perpetuates.
good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing I wanna underline from what you were saying is that we end up being taught to relate to concepts rather than through direct experience.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so I led one of my complimentary workshops yesterday, and this when I asked a question like, "Where did this come from?" and she came up with a normal psychological explanation. Well, my parents did this or that, and this, and I felt this way because, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what I'm really encouraging you to do is look at your experience, and we'll talk more about that, I think, in a little bit, but we've been again conditioned to think about something, to describe something, to pass a test about something, and instead of relating to everything as an experience, and how to do that, and how to look at our experience instead of these ideas about life and experience.
Mhm. Well, you're raising something really interesting that goes a little bit beyond our topic, but I'm gonna just footnote it anyway,
Great. Yeah.
having to do with experience. So, in the evolution of the business marketplace,
Mm,
up until about 2002, what was being sold in through marketing and sales techniques was products and services. And around 2002, the marketplace shifted, and what started to be sold was experiences
yeah. Mhm.
through products and services that were
Mhm.
being purchased. So there is this
Mm,
unrecognized awakening that's happening under our noses
mm,
in society in general that most people don't know how to identify. But that shift into an experience marketplace, an experience
mhm,
economy,
mm,
reflects a deep yearning in all of us
mm,
to move from objectification, this relating to concepts, into direct experience and interaction with in I thou relationships,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, we are longing for those experiences. Yeah, I mean that's what. Yeah, so the part of the journey of knowing that we're separate and then seeking to not feel that is seeking experiences to help us feel that fulfillment that seems missing, because as long as we're separate, we feel disconnected, we don't feel whole, we don't feel complete. So there's a longing that continues to stay there that we keep trying to fill. So that definitely relates to us wanting more and more experiences, and why that we're so drawn to that.
Yes.
and how it's used even to sell products these days, that it's all about, it's not, watch any commercial and rarely are they really talking about the product. All the images are experiences.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
telling, even if it's a pill, it's all about the experience of having the pill. Yeah.
Exactly. And what's interesting, and we might touch on this in the next segment if we have time, is that the marketplace shifted again in 2018. And now we are in what's called the transformation marketplace. So
Mm,
people are searching for
mm,
transformative experiences through
mm,
the products and services that they buy. So the evolution of humanity is continuing.
mm.
And so we'll be back again after a short break, following which we'll go into the heart of the matter, where my guest, Peggy O'Neal, and I will discuss what to look for in a solution that helps us get free from the illusion of separation.
Are you ready to dive into the mysteries of the unknown? Tune into the electrifying X Zone radio TV show hosted by the one and only Rob McConnell.
I'm Rob McConnell, and get ready for a mind-bending journey through the unexplained phenomenon that surrounds us all. From UFO encounters to cryptids, ghosts, and everything in between, we've got it covered here in the X Zone.
Rob McConnell, the seasoned investigator and renowned radio personality, brings you the most compelling interviews with top experts, authors, and experiencers from around the world. Each episode is an unforgettable exploration into the depths of the extraordinary.
That's right, X Zone Nation. Join me every week as we open the door to the supernatural and explore the strange and amazing stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew.
And it's not just radio anymore. With our groundbreaking TV show, you can now witness the sessions unfold right before your eyes. From chilling reenactments to captivating visuals, prepare yourself for a multimedia experience like never before.
With a legacy spanning over 2 decades, the X Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, is your ultimate source for mind-blowing entertainment and thought-provoking discussions. Join our growing community of truth seekers as we continue to unlock the world's mysteries.
So, why wait? Step into the X Zone and embark on a journey that will challenge your beliefs, ignite your curiosity, and keep you on the edge of your seat.
Remember, X Zone Nation, the truth is out there, and it's waiting for you right here on the X Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't miss a minute of the action.
Tune in now on your favorite radio station or visit xzoneradiotv.com to join the adventure. The X Zone Radio TV show with Rob McConnell, where reality meets the unknown.
The X Zone Radio TV show, unraveling the secrets of the universe, one episode at a time. For more information, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Welcome back. In the last segment, we delved into a number of things going all the way back to the beginning of our lives that cause us to unintentionally adopt the illusion of separation, and as a result, end up with us suffering from the symptoms we discussed during the first segment of this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours. In this segment, my special guest, Peggy O'Neal, and I will discuss what to look for in a resource or in any resource that can help you free yourself from this illusion of separation so you can live more authentically and effortlessly in direct experience with other people, so that you can more fully turn your highest aspirations into reality. So, Peggy, what would you say are some of the key ingredients that you recommend that people look for in a solution to separation?
Often for somebody that's curious about this is they often need some sort of education. Our thinking mind needs some sort of information. Now, what we've talked about today could be enough, or go to a book of some sort. Of the book that really opened my eyes to what we're talking about here, and really the insight got me started. So the insight really helped me just turn my whole life around. And that book was by Rupert Spira, and it's called Being Aware of Being Aware. But there are lots of non-duality books. Gosh, there are videos all over the place on YouTube and so on. So often we need a little bit of education, at least, for our minds to settle down so we can get into this. But then to really be free, it takes actually unlearning and not listening to our thoughts, not listening to our minds, not trying to understand, but to actually explore our experience. So that's often called self-inquiry, where I'm turning around, so to speak, and I'm looking within. So I stop most of the time we're trying to feel better by getting a better job, another relationship, a glass of whiskey or something. But what now we're going, we don't realize that doesn't work to satisfy this longing. So we look within, we turn around and realize that what we're looking for is already right here. And so how do we do that? Some education, turn around. And then the self-inquiry questions, one that's been, of course, offered for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, is who am I? Or on whose behalf is this arising? Let's say I'm having some emotion, or angry with somebody, or doubting myself. Okay, on whose behalf is this arising? So we start looking, but what we're looking for is what never changes, which is who we are, which is awareness. Because our body's always changing, our thoughts are always changing, our emotions are always changing. We identify with all of those. We think that's who we are, but that's not who we are. So we look, who am I? Or on whose behalf is this arising? Or where is this I that I think I am? But we have to actually look. We can all become good students. Many of us can pass a test on, there's no separate I. That doesn't help any. To really be free, we have to really look, really investigate, really be serious about this. And not in a serious way, but I mean intentional about it, I guess, is a better way to put it. And so another example of a type of self-inquiry is this. So right now people are hearing this, may also be watching this. And because of our conditioning with regard to our senses and everything we've talked about so far today, we tend to say, oh, Peggy and David are over there. They're on the computer. I'm hearing them out of the computer. I'm hearing them on whatever device I'm listening to. But yet, if we look in our experience, we can see, wait, I cannot separate myself from my experience of David and Peggy. Because where do I hear them? Oh, I actually hear them in my experience where I am. Where do I see them? Oh, right here where I am. I've been conditioned to think I see them on the screen over there, but that's not really in my experience where the experience of seeing and hearing is. It's over here. So it's that investigation and ongoing investigation. And then it starts clicking. We start realizing we can't find a separate I. We start realizing, oh, I cannot separate myself from my experience of anything. I mean, if there was a separation, I would experience you for a little bit and then there'd be a gap. But there's no gap anywhere. So we can let that start really sinking in. Oh, I'm not separate from anything. So those are a couple of things. Another way is to, like if somebody closed their eyes right now and they looked in there. So this is all experiential. In fact, and that interesting. I thought that was great about experience. Yeah. If people really want more experience, this is an awesome thing to do. It costs nothing and it'll change your life to really get into this experience. But if somebody closed their eyes and didn't use the memory of their body, we can't find the edges of our body without the memory of our body. If we close our eyes and just notice, we can't experience the edges of our body. So we let those things start really sinking in. What are some thoughts? I have some more things I can say, but what are your thoughts about this, David, or you might have some other ideas you'd like to add before I add some more.
Well, before I add any more or you add any more, let me just do a quick summary of what you've unpacked so far, because I think you've identified three crucial ingredients so far. The first is waking up to the spell. It's the education piece. We need an education about exactly the things that you and I are discussing today, such as, the book that you recommended, being aware of being aware. But however we get that education, we need to recognize through that education that there's more to our life, there's more to our experience, there's more to our sense of self
Right.
than what we have believed. So that would be the first ingredient. The second ingredient I think you described is about unlearning and courageous exploration. It's that self-inquiry that replaces our attachment to concepts with direct experience. Daring to courageously ask, well, who really am I? If I'm not these things that I've been taught I am, then who am I? And that really requires a huge amount of courage to go outside the box.
Mhm.
And the unlearning and the inquiry really revolves around looking for what never changes to
Mhm.
discover who we are, rather than only defining who we are through what's constantly changing.
Mhm.
And then the third ingredient I think that you described is about practice. It's immersion in experience. It's building new muscles for experiencing unity.
Mhm.
So those are the three ingredients I think you've identified so far. Now that I've articulated them in that way, are there additional ingredients,
Um,
or have we covered it?
I think those are the ingredients. I'll add one of the ingredients, or I'll add to one of the ingredients as far as a practice goes. One of the things that I've found very useful is to remind myself not to believe anything that my thoughts about me or other people say.
Hmm.
Not to believe in any self-referencing thoughts, because those are typically thoughts that are going to keep me feeling separate from myself or separate from others. If I'm judging myself, like, oh, you did a terrible job there, you shouldn't have said that, you did that, all that does is separate me from me and other people I'm not as good at as. Or I could say, oh, I was so much better than that person. That's another way to keep me separate. Or if I start talking about other people, oh gosh, they're just now I'm separating the person from the behavior and what I'm about to say. There are people that do horrible things. And yes, those we want to attend to. But today what we're talking about is, who am I? So I am not the terrible things that I did. I learned them some along the way. In fact, the reason most people do terrible things is because they believe they're separate. They think whatever they do isn't going to hurt anybody else, and it's keeping them happy in
Hmm.
some way that they see the world and themselves. But
Good.
but but so not believing any thoughts about, like, that they're a horrible person because they did that.
Right.
No, they're a human being that, yes, did some horrible things. And so that starts creating, that's a great freeing up exercise to just not believe any of those. That's very hard because we're so used to paying attention to every thought we ever had. It must be real, must be important. I've got to listen to it, and we don't.
Yes. Well said. And there's one other question that I want to ask you before we wrap up
Okay.
this segment, which I'll ask you in a moment, and I'll need maybe about a minute's worth of
Okay.
a summary answer. Um, but what you just said, I want to underscore, which is that when we're being judgmental, it's really important for us to get into the habit of reminding ourselves that everything I know is wrong.
Oh,
If we can do that with lightheartedness rather than with shaming ourselves or blaming others.
yeah.
So, with that, what I want to turn quickly over to is that you've got a system that provides the ingredients we've been discussing, and you call it Wisdomary Leading. In a quick nutshell, what is Wisdomary Leading?
I came up with that phrase, obviously, wisdom. So, like, we think of visionary, somebody who leads with vision. So, wisdomary, that we could start recognizing that, oh, I'm inherently wise. I'm inherently a genius. We are the universe, source, consciousness, as we said. So that's inherently who we are as wisdom. And so, wisdomary leading is about really opening to everything we're talking about today and engaging in the research, the inquiry, or the reading, the education, the inquiry and the practices to support a person in leading their lives. So I use also the word leading rather than leader, because so that we don't identify as another object or use another label, but to see it as a movement, as a moving in life. So leading my life, my team, my family, my community. And so wisdomary leading is about knowing who I am and living aligned with that, which is what we're talking about today.
Yes. So this is a kind of leading that goes. It's a next step beyond even transformational leadership. It's the evolution of leading around wisdom, being a conduit of higher love and wisdom, which is very important and very profound. And we'll talk about more in a couple of moments, because after this next brief break, we'll return for our episode's final segment, during which I'm going to ask my guest, Peggy O'Neal, about where you can learn more about Wisdomary Leading, and we'll also let you know about a powerful grassroots method for dissolving divisiveness and polarization, which are some of the key societal symptoms of the separation illusion, that being divisiveness and polarization. So we'll be back in a moment.
Are you ready for a tale that will leave you on the edge of your seat? Get ready to dive into the gripping memoir by Bart Sibrel titled Moon Man. Bart Sibrel takes you on a heart-pounding journey, unmasking the truth behind America's famous Apollo missions. Prepare yourself for hair-raising encounters with agents from the U.S. government's top secret agencies. In Moon Man, Sibrel fearlessly reveals his real-life espionage adventures, shining a light on one of the CIA's best-kept secrets. Brace yourself for shocking revelations, including Sibrel's discovery of privately recorded audio exposing an Apollo astronaut's chilling plot, a plot orchestrated by the CIA. That's right. As Sibrel unveils this groundbreaking evidence, it becomes clear that there is much more to the Apollo missions than meets the eye. Could it be that we've been deceived all along? Moon Man is a gripping page-turner that challenges everything you thought you knew. It's a mind-bending journey into the unknown, where the line between truth and fiction becomes blurred. Don't miss this opportunity to uncover the secrets hidden for decades. Let your curiosity guide you as you join Bart Sibrel on his quest to find the truth. Moon Man, available now at Sibrel.com. That's Sibrel.com. Prepare to have your beliefs shaken to the very core.
Well, before the last break, my guest Peggy O'Neal described the ingredients to look for in breaking free from the separation illusion, and then briefly described what Wisdomary Leading is and how it helps you break free from the illusion of separation so that you can lead in wiser ways. And in this final segment of this episode, called You Already Are What You Seek, Peggy will let us know how to learn more about Wisdomary Leading, and will also tell us about Unite for Democracy, as I mentioned, a grassroots method for dissolving divisiveness and polarization, and how you can get involved with that. And after that, in this segment, we'll each offer what we see as the key takeaways from this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours. So you, Peggy, you've got two great resources for stepping out of the illusion of separation in a practical, in the world kind of way, one for leaders and one for concerned citizens as well as leaders. Please let us know about what those are and how we can learn more about Wisdomary Leading and Unite for Democracy.
Great. So thank you so much for that, for this opportunity. So with Wisdomary Leading, so I offer programs for people. So I have one-on-one coaching. I do coaching within organizations, and then I have an ongoing public group that I call a praxis. And praxis actually means theory and practice. So we actually are living this. We're not just talking about it or becoming good theorists about it, but with all of the work that I do, it's about actually living this, because I'm just passionate about us knowing who we truly are. Because from my point of view, for us to have the world that most of us know in our hearts as possible, this is essential. We've got to know that we're not separate and begin to live aligned with that. So I provide, those sorts of services, coaching and training in organizations, and executive coaching, and then the public work. And and I do public speaking as well, and podcasts. And then the practical on the ground thing, and it is one of the, once we know who we are and we're open and we're more free, then from my experience, it's easier to listen to those nudges from the universe that are saying, hey, let's go this direction, or here's something to do. And so this has been in front of me for quite a few years, but finally about 4 or 5 months ago, I said, okay, this isn't going away. This is something I guess I'm going to do. And so I did. And then I invited other people to come along, and they were excited about it too. So we started an organization called Unite for Democracy. And the idea is that we have a wonderful system that's not working so well, but the founders gifted us the gift of self-governance. Do you want to govern yourselves or not? And so it takes a will, it takes a determination for us to govern. And so my commitment is that we shift this paradigm that's turned into that these 535 people in Congress are representing us, and yet there are 256 million of us, and it seems like we're kind of having to respond to them. And so we're shifting this around so that we start coming together and thinking about and talking about and then creating, but how do we want to live together? How do we want to work together? What's the community that we want? And then to start and then create a relationship where we're collaborating with our representatives, but that it's shifted in a way that we're talking to them from the standpoint of, here's what we want you to do. And how do we work together and shift the energy, the perspective, and back to unite for democracy. What I believe is that's so missing in this country is people feel like they don't have a voice, they don't belong, they're not really seen, and that's what we really want to do here, is help people feel like they're seen, they matter. I mean, what do they want to see different in this country, and how do we go about helping them move forward with that? And so Unite for Democracy is the other one. And for both of them, people can go to my website.
I'm going to give everyone a link for that, a simple forwarder link.
Yeah, good.
I'm going to do that in a moment.
Okay. But I also have so I do have complimentary workshops for the Wisdomary Leading, so people can have an experience of once a month. It's a 90-minute workshop where they have a pure experience of what we're talking about today. So I'd love people to.
Marvelous. Great to know. And so before we move to takeaways and I give everyone the link to get access to you, I want to summarize what you've said so far, because it's really important to me that our viewers and listeners understand what you can provide, because you really have the ingredients that we discussed in the last segment. So with Wisdomary Leading, what you provide for starters is a complementary monthly 90-minute workshop. You do these on a monthly basis to get a feel for Wisdomary Leading, and you also have the a public praxis kind of group where praxis is really about combining theory and practical practice. And you, of course, you do public speaking and podcasts, and you do organizational consulting and training in addition to individual mentoring, basically
Mhm.
training leaders in embodying wisdomary leading, which Lord knows we need that
Mhm.
today more than ever in at all levels of society, in communities, in government, in business, and so forth. And then the Unite for Democracy initiative, I think it's really important for people to remember what a lot of people have forgotten, which is we were gifted by the founders of any nation that considers itself or aspires to be a free country, a free society with self governance. And we need to return to that because we've moved away from it. And our that shift requires making sure that our elected officials respond to us rather than dictate to us because of their own self-centered interests or because of special interests over influencing them.
Right.
And the process of regaining your voice through Unite for Democracy is really an antidote to what in psychology is called learned helplessness,
Mm.
where people have been programmed in a separated state to believe that nothing they do has impact. Nothing positive they do has impact. Nothing negative they do has impact. That's a massively common symptom of separation consciousness.
Mm.
And so I really want to encourage everyone to check out the link that I'll describe or I'll give to all of you in a moment. But before we even do that, I want to talk about takeaways from this episode.
Mm.
So I'm going to, as the guest, I'm going to let you go first. What would you say are the most important takeaways from this episode? And then I'll share mine.
That people, the well, the how do I say this? That the recognition and the offering that I think we're making today is the offering the opportunity to recognize that we're one being, and whether we call it source, consciousness, awareness, and that as we know who we truly are, then we start experiencing in the background of life all the time, not sporadically, not just when we get a new car, but the sense of contentment, peace, love, happiness in a contentment way, freedom, that people are longing for. So that, and then knowing, oh, if I'm source, if I'm the universe, then I'm not limited and finite and small. No, I'm this incredible genius, wise, infinite. Um, no telling what's possible for myself and my family and my community and my world as I open to that and the creativity and the genius that's available to us as we open. I love what you said before the break, that we're a conduit. We're actually a conduit for this wisdom that's trying to express through us fully. And it's going to be limited as long as we believe we're limited. But as we open, then this wisdom and this creativity that wants to express full through us is more and more available. And then also, as you beautifully summarized, that and how do we do that? Well, it takes education, it takes inquiry, and it takes practice. And the big thing, do not listen to our thoughts about
Right, right.
it. That'll
Right.
sabotage anything all the time.
So basically, stepping back into one being is the key to recreating the heaven on earth we've been longing for. And we're actually wise geniuses. We've just been pretending we're not. So My takeaway that I'll offer on top of what you said is that top down and bottom up change must occur and must be coordinated. And wisdomary leading is, in essence, top down change, and Unite for Democracy is bottom up change.
Hmm.
And they both work hand in hand. So
Mhm.
that's the main takeaway for me from this episode. I need to move into final comments now. So the link that I promised, the forwarding link to get information about everything that Peggy is doing, is a link from my Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty website, which is thecess.com. The special link to Peggy is very simple, thecess.com/Peggy. And so please go to that link, thecess.com/Peggy. When you're looking around the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty website, feel free to apply to join the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty to step into the age of spiritual self-sovereignty that serves us all. And you can do that at thecess.com. I'm deeply grateful to you, Peggy, for being this episode's guest. Again, this is Peggy O'Neal, developer of Wisdomary Leading and Unite for Democracy. And I'm grateful to you for being a fellow trailblazer who's providing valuable resources to assist individuals, leaders, communities, businesses, governments, and all of humanity in actualizing a powerfully positive, reimagined future. So thank you all for joining us for this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours. Remember to visit me online at drgruder.com, where, among other things, you'll find a link to join the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty. And there are also links on this show's website, which is rhfy.ca, where you can watch all of our episodes of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours. Peggy, thank you so much for being with me today.
I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Great. And I'll be back again in 2 weeks with another spell-busting and uplifting episode.